Hello everyone! I'm your teacher broadcaster from Santa Ana National High School. I'm Teacher Odessa. Grade 9 students, this is a wonderful day to you little scientists. Are you ready for another new knowledge today? Are you ready to join the journey and explore new exciting things? Are you excited for a fun learning session? Oh yes, that's great! Just a quick reminder to all our students before we start our lesson. So make sure to have the following before we start our lesson. First one, please look for a comfortable place while tuning in to our station. And second one, make sure to have your mind and body ready for our discussion. And the third one, you have to prepare your science module, your notebook, and your pen for more fun and exciting activities. But remember, if you encounter difficulties in answering the task on your module, do not hesitate to contact and consult your science teacher. Always bear in mind that you are not alone on this journey. So, in this Quarter 3 Module 2, you will learn to explain the effect of temperature, chemical composition, and amount of gases to the viscosity of magma. And you shall also relate the volcano slope to its materials emissions. So our topic for today is anchored on the most essential learning competencies given by the Department of Education, which is to explain what happens when a volcano erupts. And these are now the following specific objectives to be observed by every student at the end of the lesson. So at the end of the lesson, every student can describe the effect of temperature, chemical composition, and amount of dissolved gases and the viscosity of magma. And the second one is every student can relate now the volcano slope to its material emissions. So, before we proceed further, let us try to test your knowledge on how far your learnings about our topic. So, are you ready? Let's begin! Please turn your module on page 2 and let us find the different words hidden on the crossword puzzle. So let us answer it together. So the direction of the activity is you have to find and circle the word that is hidden in the puzzle. Then afterwards, we're going to check your answers using the answer key found on the page 14 of your self-learning module. And then, afterwards, I will give you 2 minutes to answer the puzzle. But, take note students, be honest. Answer first before referring it to the answer keys at the back. Now, these are now the following words you have to find in the puzzle. First one is, you have to find the word volcanoes, temperature, silica, slope, gases, viscosity, magma, lava, eruption, and pyroclastic. Alright, time is up! Great job, little scientists! How are you feeling after completing the tasks? You can now open your module on the last page for the answers. Oh yes, you're amazing! You did it well! I am happy with your active participation today. Did you find this activity interesting and effective in learning our topic today? If your answer is a big yes, let us find out more. Let us use these words as we continue our discussion. Wow! What can you say about the video? Class, predicting a volcanic eruption is fascinating. As you can see in the video, after an explosive eruption, a silicone-shaped structure may be produced or changes on its slope can be observed. The emissions of volcano provide us with clues on what materials are found inside the earth. These materials can be used in studying its composition and temperature. Are you following, my dear junior scientists? Alright, let's continue. Some eruptions are very explosive, while many others are not. There are primary factors affecting volcanoes' eruptive style. First one is the magma's temperature, the chemical composition, and the number of dissolved gases it contains. These factors can affect the magma's viscosity in different ways. So what is now viscosity? Yes, very good. Viscosity is defined as the property of the material's resistance to flow. It is an important property in determining the eruptive behavior of magmas. So it is also described as the liquid's thickness and stickiness, and it is semi-fluid due to the internal friction. Now, the more viscous and thicker the material is, the greater is its resistance to flow. For example, a syrup is more viscous than water because syrup is less liquid. Now, let us discuss on how each factor affects the viscosity of magma. First, let us look into how temperature of magma affects its viscosity. The viscosity of magma decreases with temperature. The hotter the temperature of magma is, the lower its viscosity, the more rapidly it flows. As lava flows, it cools and begins to harden. Its ability to flow decreases and eventually it stops. Lastly, the amount of gases contained in the magma affects its viscosity, but in a more mysterious way than temperature and silica content. Nearly all magmas contain gases that give their explosive character. The gas will increase as the pressure reduces. When gases begin to escape from the magma, the effect of gas bubbles on the bulk viscosity is unpredictable. The viscosity of the residual liquid will increase as the gas escapes. The overall bulk viscosity of the bubble liquid mixture depends on bulk size and distribution of the bubbles. Do you have any clarification? If none, let's proceed. So, volcano emits different substances. Do you have any idea of all these substances it emits? So, let us discuss it one by one. First one is volcanic bulbs. Volcanic bulbs are molten rocks that are thrown out from a volcano and at least 66 millimeters in size. Second one is an eruption cloud. An eruption cloud are ash falls like powdery snow, but that snow will not melt. It can extend up to 12 meters in diameter above a volcano. Then it can reach thousands of kilometers in distance, raining ashes over regions. If magma is thick and sticky, gases cannot escape easily. The pressure now builds up until gases escape violently and explode. This type of magma blasts up into the air and breaks into pieces on what we call as tephra. The tephra now can range in size from tiny particles of ash to house-sized boulders. Tephra destroys everything on its path. The fourth one is what we call as an eruption column. The eruption column are clouds of heated ash in tephra that are released from a vent during an explosive volcanic eruption. While the pyroclastic flow contains fast-moving volcanic matter and hot gas, it moves away from a volcano and incorporates tephra. When hot volcanic material mixes with water from stream of snow and ice, lahar mud flows forms, and then magma that erupts is what we call as lava. So the lava flows are molten rocks that ooze to the Earth's surface after a volcanic eruption. Volcanic eruption undergoes a natural geological process. Each form depends on the types of materials made of prior to the eruptive behavior of the volcano. So let us now relate the volcano slope to its materials emitted. First one is the shield volcanoes. The shield volcanoes is characterized by gentle upper slopes about 5 degrees and somewhat steeper lower slope which is about 10 degrees. It is composed almost entirely of relatively thin lava flows built up over a central vent. The most shields were formed by low viscosity basaltic magma that flows smoothly downslope away from the summit vent. The low viscosity of magma allows the lava to travel down slopes. As it cools, its viscosity increases. Its thickness builds upon the lower slopes, give a somewhat steeper slope. So very little pyroclastic material is found within the shield volcano, except near the eruptive vents, where small amounts of pyroclastic material accumulate as a result of fire fountain events. So the second one is the composite volcanoes. The composite volcanoes now have steeper slopes than the shield volcanoes. It has a 6 degrees to 10 degrees low on the flanks to 30 degrees near on the top. The steep slope near the summit is due partly to thick, short, viscous lava flows that do not travel far downslope from the vent. The stratus volcanoes now show an interlaying of lava flows and pyroclastic material. They are sometimes called composite volcanoes. Pyroclastic material can make up over 50% of the volume of the stratovolcano. They are more explosive than the shield volcano, as you observe. Now, sometimes they have a crater at the summit formed by the explosive ejection of material from a central vent. The craters had been filled with lava flows or lava domes. Sometimes they are filled with glacial ice, and less commonly, they are filled with water. The third one is the cinder cone. Cinder cone volcanoes are slopes of cinder cones are controlled by the angle of pre-pose and are usually between 25 degrees to 35 degrees. The cinder cones are small volume cones consistently mostly of ash and scoria that dissolves from mildly explosive eruptions. They usually consist of basaltic to andesistic material. They actually fall deposits that are built surrounding the eruptive vent. They show an internal layered structure due to varying intensities of the explosions that deposited different sizes of pyroclastic. On young cones, a depression at the top of the cone, which is called as crater, is evident and represents the area above the vent from which the material was explosively ejected. The craters now are usually eroded away on the older cones. If lava flows emitted from tephrocones, they are usually emitted from vents on the flank or near the base of the cone during the later stages of eruption. So students, are you okay? Are you still with me? So very good. By this time, we are going to watch a video on what will happen to a certain society if there is a volcanic eruption. So how does it affect a society? Okay? So kindly watch attentively and get ready for what you're going to see on the video.
So how do volcanic eruptions affect society? A volcanic eruption is often associated with both positive and negative effects. Our planet, the Earth, is active, and as such, it undergoes a process of constant renewal by way of volcanic eruptions. Volcanic eruptions help bring out various minerals and chemicals to the surface. This process helps to increase the fertility of the soil, which is why volcanic soil is of much value. Volcanoes can provide you with a ready source of power, since the same can be tapped by geothermal power stations and help to power up the various cities located close by. Volcanoes have been spewing moisture-laden gases directly into the atmosphere for almost 4 billion years and more. Volcanic ash is valued as a premium building and construction material. All volcanic eruptions result in widespread damage to the point that whole cities are destroyed, along with the entire local infrastructure. This can impact the local population on several levels, and it can take a while before the city can be reconstructed. It can cause loss of lives and properties. Even though a volcanic eruption leads to increased fertility in the soil, the process takes time. Meanwhile, the fallout in the local environment is immediate with ash and toxic gases, all of which impact the local flora and fauna.
Alright, as you can see on the video, volcanoes, as we hear about them on the news, where they are described as dramatic and tragic events, can have positive effects as well as negative. So over geologic time, volcanic eruptions and related processes have directly and indirectly benefited mankind. Volcanic materials ultimately break down and weather to form some of the most fertile soils on Earth, cultivation of which has produced abundant food and fostered civilizations. The internal heat associated with young volcanic systems have been harnessed to produce a geothermal energy. So most of the metallic minerals mined in the world, such as the copper, gold, silver, lead and zinc are associated with magmas found deep within the roots of extinct volcanoes. So is it clear to everybody now? How about the disadvantages? You hear it right. There are short-term effects and long-term effects in the society if a volcano erupts. Now, for the short-term effects, there are risks of death and destruction, wherein the volcanic eruptions are nonetheless hazardous events. They pose a serious risk to people's lives when they erupt. People can die due to the direct threat of lava, but more so to poisonous gases that are released by the volcano. Ash and a fast flow of superheated ash and gases called a pyroclastic flow. The second one, for the short term, is what we call problems with access, meaning the volcanic eruption often lead to vital roads and other access routes being blocked, cutting areas off. Now, as you can see in the Philippines, when the Taal volcano erupted, the vast amounts of ash that were produced by the volcano blocked the main roads and access routes to towns and settlements for weeks on end. The layer of ash was 15 centimeters thick in places. This stopped the emergency responses from reaching people and made recovering from this volcanic disaster even harder. Now, for the long-term effects, there is a damage on the tourist industry. So, although volcanic eruptions have been shown to increase levels of tourism, but they also decreases the levels of tourism too. For example, a landscape can be so badly damaged that a tourist will be put off from visiting, or tourists can be put off by the fear of another eruption occurring. So, volcanic ash can scar the natural landscape. Now, as you can see on Taal volcano, as it erupted, some areas of the natural beauty around the base were badly damaged, and the tourist numbers dropped dramatically due to its drop in tourism, and it can make it even harder for people to recover from this event, as many people living near the crater of the volcanoes rely on tourism for their income, and with this being severely reduced, their income will severely decrease. So, second one is damage to other industries. So, number one damage during as a long term during a volcanic eruption is the agriculture. The agriculture is highly affected because it can be damaged, and at the same time, the ash that covers the ground can harden, making that land no longer suitable for agriculture of any kind. Furthermore, any existing crops that were on the land will be buried and useless, losing farmers valuable crops and income. At the same time, other industries can suffer too. After the Taal volcano's eruption, the forestry industries were damaged due to pyroclastic flow, destroying the forest. The salmon industry or the fish industry was also generated a lot of income for the local economy. However, was also damaged when the rivers and lakes were clogged and polluted by the ash from the volcano. And 7,000 salmon were killed by the ash. When the disasters like this happen, this damage to industries takes a long time to recover fully from this volcanic eruption. So, that's it. We're done. Since we are done discussing the factors that affects the volcanic eruption styles, to find out more if you have understood the lesson, we are going to perform the following task, which helps you recall the concept you have learned on this session. So, let's try to begin answering your activity number 3, which is you have to copy your answer sheet and fill in the correct answers. So, I'm going to give you 1 minute to answer your activity number 3. So how do you find your activity? Is it fascinating? So now, volcanic event happens when there is a sudden or continuing release of energy caused by magma movement. It can be in the form of earthquakes or gas emissions, but understanding its contributing factors will help us to predict volcanic activity, including on how violent an eruption might be, and thus damages can be prevented. Predictions may differ in their reliability, as it behaves differently until patterns will be recognized. So, how were the activities given? Were you be able to accomplish them? I hope you find meaningful and easy. So, very good and great job, students. So, by this time, we're going to sum up our lesson. May I ask anybody to give a synthesis of our lesson? Okay, so very good. Let's take a look at a quick recap of our lesson. The primary factors affecting volcanic eruption are the magma's temperature, its chemical composition, and the amount of dissolved gases it contains. The viscosity is the property of the material's resistance to flow. The type of eruption depends on a number of factors, including the magma, chemistry and content, temperature, viscosity, volume, how much water and gas it contains, the presence of groundwater, and the plumbing of the volcano. There are 6 types of volcano eruption, namely Icelandic, Hawaiian, Strombolian, Volcanian, Pelian, and Plinian. Before we end up this session, any further clarification? If none, so we will have to move on to the most exciting part of our lesson. Yeah, your takeaway lesson, which is your reflection. So on your journal notebook, you have to write the reflection by answering the following guide questions. First one, you write 3 things what you have learned from this lesson, and then you have to give 1 fully understand concept and their application, and 2 interesting facts about the lesson I have learned or you have learned, and 1 lesson which you do not understand and concept and their application. So, this ends my presentation for today. So, great job to all my grade 9 students and to my little scientists. I will be really happy if you learn a lot from these discussions. So, please don't forget to read and answer all your activities and practice exercises on your module. If you have any questions about the module, just contact your teacher and we are always at your service. So again, thank you for watching and stay safe, everyone.